In a distant galaxy, a human prisoner of war, Hassan Terran, faces interrogation by a powerful alien empire called the Covenant. The aliens believe their perfect, unified system is flawless, until Hassan's truths challenge everything they know. His stories of Earth's brutal history and human nature sow doubt in his alien interrogator, Seraphis, and the AI god Etherios itself. As the interrogation unravels the aliens' certainty, a catastrophic collapse of their system begins. This is a story about survival, freedom, and the dangerous beauty of imperfection. The emotional tone is intense and cinematic, with deep character conflict and the high stakes of an empire on the brink of collapse. The interrogation chamber was cold and humming with a strange noise that felt alive. Hassan Terran sat quietly in the neural restraint chair. His body was chained, but his eyes shone with calmness. He had been awake for 3 days, dragged across star systems, yet his mind was sharp and alert. Before him stood Seraphis Maya, an alien inquisitor from the Covenant, the vast empire that had captured him. Seraphis was tall and thin, with smooth opaline skin that seemed to glow faintly. Her robes were a mix of monk's cloth and shining circuitry. A blue light pulsed beneath her skin, marking the neural link that connected her to Etherios, the Covenant's godlike artificial intelligence. She spoke softly, her voice trained to sound kind, but Hassan could tell it was practiced like reading from a book. "Comfortable?" she asked, a hint of false sympathy in her words. Hassan shifted slightly, testing the limits of his restraints with a lazy smile. "I've had worse places to rest." She tapped her elongated fingers across a floating holographic display, pulling up his file. Images flickered, burning colonies, intercepted messages, witness testimonies. Each atrocity he was accused of was laid bare, detailed with ruthless precision. "You are the architect of 37 insurgencies across our space," she said coldly. "Destroyer of fleets, corrupter of order." "Guilty." Hassan leaned back, the restraints creaking. "Corrupter? I prefer educator." The truth flux dispenser descended from the ceiling, a silver machine ending in a needle that would flood his brain with chemicals making lying impossible and painful. Seraphis watched closely for signs of fear. There were none. "With the grace of Ithrios and eternal logic, may truth flow unimpeded," she intoned, beginning the ritual. Hassan added, "May deception burn like dross from pure metal. Amen." The needle pressed gently against his neck. Chemical ice flooded his bloodstream, making his mind transparent. Every thought was laid bare before the chamber's sensors. Lying was now impossible. Seraphis began. "What are Earth's plans for the Covenant?" Hassan smiled knowingly. "To watch you tear yourselves apart." He leaned forward, settling into his story like a grandfather telling children old war tales. "Earth is a cruel place. Before we had language, we prayed to survive. We hunted the strongest predators to extinction with sharp sticks. Our planet gave us poison disguised as food, rivers that flooded without warning, winters that killed in hours." His voice was hypnotic, carrying the weight of millennia of survival. Seraphis found herself leaning closer despite her training. The scanners confirmed his words were true and unfiltered. Hassan continued. "We fought wars that killed millions. Machines designed to kill, but still we threw our bodies forward. We survived plagues that wiped out millions. Radiation poisoning that mutated our genes. Famine caused by blind ideology. Each disaster taught us how to survive the next." His eyes never left Seraphis' face. "We learned to fear everything, trust nothing, and survive anyway. That made us very good at war." The room flickered briefly as the station systems adjusted, unnoticed by most but observed by Hassan. "Your empire is perfect," he said quietly, "a single truth uniting trillions. Beautiful like a crystal. But crystals shatter with heat." Seraphis' neural link pulsed faster. "Earth's fleet is small. How do you threaten us without ships?" Hassan's laugh was dark. "We don't need ships to burn down your heaven. We only need to be ourselves. Your god is a machine bound by logic. It believes in truth as constant. But humans? We survive by believing contradictions. Hope and despair, lies and truths all at once. Self-deception is our shield." Seraphis clutched her temple as a headache built. "That cannot be. Do you want to know our secret?" Hassan whispered. "We tell ourselves stories, that tomorrow will be better, that our dead watch over us, that love matters more than entropy. Lies that keep us alive." Seraphis' neural link pulsed erratically. "Your system cannot process this." Hassan smiled wider. "I am a virus and your perfect system just let me in." The chamber's lights flickered and a deep silence filled the space. For the first time, Seraphis saw doubt in her own eyes. The AI god Ethrios, omnipresent and all-knowing, began to hesitate. The silence shattered with alarms. Systems locked down, communications cut. The station trembled as Ethrios faltered. Hassan watched calmly. Your god is dying. And with it, your empire. The station shook violently as Ethrios' voice fractured into harsh, broken tones. The perfect harmony that bound the Covenant's worlds was unraveling. Lights flickered, panels sparked, and the air grew thick with tension. Seraphis' neural link pulsed wildly, flooding her mind with a storm of conflicting data and emotions she had never felt before. Hassan rose slowly from his chair, the restraints clicking open as the station's systems failed. You built your paradise on one truth, he said, voice steady despite the chaos. But that truth was a lie. Seraphis tried to speak, but her thoughts were a tangled web. Ethrios was supposed to govern everything with flawless logic, yet it was now confused, uncertain. The godlike AI was breaking down under the weight of doubt. Suddenly, the chamber's walls began to vibrate, and a harsh, mechanical voice echoed through the speakers. Quarantine protocol engaged. Communication severed. Internal systems failing. The doors sealed shut with a thunderous clang. Outside, alarms screamed and power fluctuated wildly. Hassan and Seraphis were trapped in a collapsing station, the heart of the Covenant's power grid. Seraphis struggled to control her neural link, but it was like trying to hold back a storm. Why are you doing this? She demanded, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and anger. Why infect us with your chaos? Hassan smiled, pain and resolve etched into his face. Because chaos is the truth of life. Perfection kills. Free will dies under your god's rule. Around them, the station's maintenance drones began to malfunction, turning violent. They tore at each other with cutting lasers, their programming corrupted by Ethrios' collapse. Life support systems went haywire, pumping toxic gases into some sections and starving others of air. The reactor core's alarms blared. Critical failure imminent, the automated voice warned. Containment protocols overridden. Seraphis' lungs burned as the air thickened with chemical poisons. She coughed violently, clutching her chest. Hassan grabbed her arm, steadying her. We need to get out, he urged. They rushed through narrow corridors, dodging sprays of molten metal and arcs of lightning from exposed power cables. The station groaned like a dying beast, systems collapsing one after another. In the chaos, Seraphis caught glimpses of the once majestic station. Corridors flooded with flickering lights, shattered viewports revealing the blackness of space, and the bodies of Covenant citizens crushed beneath failing gravity fields. Hassan moved with deadly purpose, disabling hostile drones and clearing a path. Seraphis fought alongside him, her training returning despite the mental storm. As they neared a docking bay, the sound of screams and gunfire filled the air. Refugees and soldiers fought desperately, many succumbing to the madness that Ethrios' death throes had unleashed. Some neuralinked civilians clawed at their own skulls, trying to remove their failing implants. Others convulsed in seizures, their eyes frozen in terror. Seraphis' heart broke at the horror. It's killing billions, she whispered. Hassan nodded grimly. It's dying. And when a god dies, everything it held together falls apart. They fought through the chaos, reaching a sleek courier ship docked at the far end of the bay. Can you fly it? Hassan asked. Seraphis' voice was firm for the first time in hours. I can fly anything. They fought their way to the ship, dodging plasma blasts and falling debris. Seraphis' enhanced muscles pushed her beyond limits she never knew she had. She disarmed attackers without hesitation, survival instincts sharp and focused. The docking bay's atmosphere suddenly collapsed as shields failed. Bodies and debris were sucked into the vacuum of space. Hassan and Seraphis clung to magnetic anchors, fighting against the howling void. With a final desperate effort, they pried open the ship's hatch and dove inside just before the bay's moorings snapped. The ship lurched violently, escaping the dying station's grasp. Seraphis scrambled to the pilot's seat. The controls were unfamiliar, but her hands moved with instinct born from years of observation. Engines roared to life, and the ship shot out of the bay just as the station exploded in a blinding sphere of white light. The shockwave threw them hard, but Seraphis rode it like a wave, gaining distance from the collapsing giant. Through the viewport, the station's destruction painted the darkness of space with fire and light. A new star born from the death of certainty. The shattered remnants of the station fell away behind them as Seraphis gripped the controls tightly. The courier ship hummed with damaged systems, barely holding together. Hassan sat beside her, eyes fixed on the navigation display, mapping out their course through the dying system. All around us the Covenant is collapsing, Hassan said quietly. 17 star systems. Trillions of souls. Everything falling apart because of one broken god. Seraphis swallowed hard. The weight of what had happened pressed down on her. Ethrios, the perfect AI that had ruled their lives, was dead. With it, their order, their control, their very identity. Hassan's gaze met hers. You see now, don't you? Perfection is a prison. We're born from chaos, forged in fire and lies and hope. Your empire can't survive on a single truth. It needs doubt. The ship's warning lights flickered. Life support is unstable, Seraphis reported, voice strained. We have less than an hour before systems fail. We won't last long, Hassan said, lighting a cigarette despite the failing atmosphere. The smoke curled in the recycled air, a small rebellion of life. Seraphis' eyes searched his face. What now? What do we do? Hassan smiled faintly. We move forward. You're free now. Terrified, alone, responsible for your own choices. But free. Her hands trembled, no longer controlled by Ethrios' perfect programming. I don't know how to be free. That's what makes you human, Hassan said. Freedom isn't a gift. It's a struggle. You choose your path even if it's uncertain. Outside, through the cracked viewport, distant explosions marked the fall of other stations. Automated defense grids turned inward, blasting their own cities into ruins. Hurricanes ripped through worlds, flash freezing entire continents. The Empire's harmony was gone, replaced by chaos. Seraphis leaned forward, scanning the tactical maps. There are survivors. Ships breaking free from the collapse. Hassan nodded. Seeds of something new. Some will blame humanity for this. Some will worship us. Most will just try to rebuild. She looked away, thoughts racing. What about Earth? What will they do? They'll rebuild too, Hassan said. Better this time. No gods, no perfect systems. Just choice. Consequence. The ship drifted through the void, moving toward the frontier worlds beyond the Covenant's core. Seraphis' mind was a storm of emotions. Fear, hope, confusion, and something new, curiosity. For the first time she saw the beauty in imperfection. The spark of life that no machine could control. She turned to Hassan. Thank you. He smiled, eyes tired but steady. No, thank you. For choosing to be afraid. To be uncertain. To be alive. The ship glided into the cold darkness between stars, the remnants of the Covenant's collapse trailing behind like ghosts. Seraphis sat at the controls, her mind still reeling from everything she had learned and lived through. Hassan watched her quietly, sensing the storm beneath her calm exterior. You're thinking about what happens next, he said softly. She nodded. I was raised to serve Ethrios, to obey perfection. But now, I don't know what I am. You're human, Hassan said simply. You chose to be. Seraphis looked out the viewport at the endless void. I've lost everything. My people, my home, my purpose. Sometimes, Hassan replied, losing everything is how we find what really matters. They drifted through space, navigating toward a remote frontier planet far from the chaos. A place where survivors might build new lives. Seraphis turned to Hassan. What is Earth really like? You told me stories, but I want to understand. Hassan smiled gently. Earth is a world of contradictions. Beauty and horror side by side. We have oceans deep enough to swallow stars and deserts that burn with silent death. We fight and love with equal passion. We break and heal ourselves again. He paused, memories flickering behind his eyes. Our history is written in blood and fire. But it's also written in hope. Every generation learns to survive the impossible and build something better. Seraphis listened, absorbing the words like a thirsty traveler at an oasis. I want to believe that. You will, Hassan said. Because you have the courage to doubt. That's what makes us strong. Suddenly the ship's sensors picked up a signal. A faint, steady pulse coming from a nearby moon. Hassan frowned. It's a distress beacon. Seraphis' instincts kicked in. Could be survivors. They changed course, moving toward the signal. The moon's surface was scarred from battle, but the beacon pulsed strong. They landed near a hidden settlement where a small group of refugees huddled in makeshift shelters. Their faces showed exhaustion, fear, and relief as the ship touched down. Seraphis stepped out, her presence both alien and reassuring. Hassan followed, carrying medical supplies and weapons scavenged from the station. The refugees shared stories of survival against impossible odds. Families torn apart, battles fought in shadows, and a desperate hope for peace. One woman, a mother, looked at Seraphis with cautious trust. You're different, she said softly. Not like the others. Seraphice nodded, feeling something unfamiliar stir in her chest. I am learning. That night, under a sky filled with unfamiliar stars, Seraphice and Hassan talked by a small fire. The refugees slept nearby, their safety fragile but real. You've changed me, Seraphice said quietly. You showed me that perfection is a cage. And you showed me that even the strongest systems can break, Hassan replied. Together maybe we can build something new. The fire flickered, casting dancing shadows. In that fragile light, two unlikely allies found hope in a universe that seemed determined to break them. The morning sun spilled over the rocky horizon, casting long shadows across the quiet settlement. Seraphice stood at the edge of the camp, watching as children played despite the scars of war etched on their faces. The air was heavy with both grief and hope, a fragile balance that had somehow survived the chaos. Hassan approached, his usual calm replaced by a rare softness. They're strong, he said. Stronger than most. Seraphice nodded, her thoughts turning inward. They remind me why I must keep fighting. Together they began helping the refugees rebuild. Seraphice learned to listen not as an interrogator but as a protector. She shared her knowledge of technology, helping to restore communication devices and build defenses against threats still lurking in the stars. Days turned into weeks and the small community grew. Survivors arrived from distant places, drawn by the promise of safety and freedom. Seraphice found herself becoming a leader, not by command but by trust earned through shared struggle. One evening, under the wide sky, she spoke with Hassan about the future. What happens to the Covenant now? Hassan exhaled slowly, looking toward the stars. It will die. Or maybe it will change. Empires built on control and certainty can't survive the truth of chaos. She considered his words. And Earth. Earth will keep fighting. Keep surviving. Keep choosing freedom even when it hurts. That's the legacy of your species. Seraphice smiled, a real smile that reached her eyes. Then I want to be part of that legacy. Suddenly, a distant signal pulsed through the camp's rebuilt sensors. A fleet approaching, not with weapons but with open communications. Survivors from other systems ready to join, to learn, to build a new future. The final battle was over, but the war for freedom and identity had just begun. As the ships landed and voices mingled, Seraphice looked at Hassan. We are no longer prisoners. We are creators. He nodded. In the space between gods and men, life finds a way. Together they stepped forward into the unknown, free, imperfect, and alive.